Hello everyone, welcome back to your online lecture. Okay, we have not met in last week, so we will continue from this lecture. And if you remember, we have started with Unit 3, that is Ecosystem and Biodiversity. Then as I have mentioned here, it's Unit 3 Part 6. In last parts 5 we have entirely studied about ecosystem, and then we have started with biodiversity. As like you guys, I am also same like you, so I didn't remember what we have learned in last lecture. Only I know that we have learned totally about ecosystem, its type, and then we have learned about what is biodiversity. Yes, this much I can remember. Then let's start today's lecture now. Can you see one quote here? I feel it's very nice quote. The fewer animals we have, the fewer humans we will have. Can you guess its meaning? If animals will be less, definitely humans will also be less. It means how much it is correct? At least 50% might be it is correct. See, humans are depend on animals directly, indirectly, for food, for milk and milk products. We depend on animals, so somehow we are depend on animals. If animals are only less, then of course we will also less. So this is one nice quote. I want to start with this beautiful quote now. That's why, as per this quote, the fewer animals we have, the fewer humans we will have. That's why biodiversity is important. The wide variety of species on Earth, whether they are plants, animals, or microscopic organisms, are vital to keep the world's many ecosystems healthy, balanced, and thriving. Growing plants we can eat, trees we can shade under, and the landscape to use for everything from vacations to computer screensavers, right? This whole environment is very important for us, from our food to our computer screensavers. Many of you are having screensaver of natures, right? In other words, biodiversity ensures natural sustainability for all life on the planet. Think more abundant crops and fresh air, for example. More than 3 billion people depend on marine and coastal biodiversity, while more than 1.6 billion people rely on forests for their livelihoods. The loss of biodiversity affects the lives of more than 1 billion people living in dry lands. So like this, we are totally dependent on biodiversity which is provided by God. So to this beautiful biodiversity, we are creating problems to this biodiversity. So today we are going to learn about threats to biodiversity. So what are the threats to the biodiversity? There are a number of issues threatening our planet's biodiversity, from climate change to invasive species. So today we will learn about some threats to the biodiversity. Now, the core threat to biodiversity on the planet, and therefore a threat to human welfare, is the combination of human population growth and resource exploitation. What are the main reasons behind it? It's population growth and resource exploitation. The human population requires resources to survive and grow, and those resources are being removed unsustainably from the environment. The three greatest proximate threats to biodiversity are habitat loss, overharvesting, and introduction of exotic species. We will see these factors one by one. So, there are various factors threatening the biodiversity. For example, Jared Diamond describes an evil quarter of habitat destruction, overkilling, introduced species, and secondary extinctions for speedy loss of biodiversity all around the wall. So these are examples are described as evil quoted by Jed Diamond. So at the same time, Edward O. Wilson prefers the acronym HIPPO. This might be asked for MCQ. HIPPO. What is the long form of HIPPO? HIPPO stands for habitat destruction, invasive species, pollution, human overpopulation, and overharvesting are as reasons behind threat to biodiversity. So this will definitely ask for MCQ. So note down HIPPO and its long form. H for habitat destruction, I for invasive species, P for pollution, and again P for overpopulation, and O for overharvesting. Then threats to biodiversity by IUCNs. In the last video, I remember I have told you the long form of IUCN, International something. So, which are the basic threats to our biodiversity? Human habitat destruction, threats posed by exotic species, poaching of wildlife, genetic pollution, and climatic change. These are the basic threats to biodiversity. So let's see one by one. So first one is habitat destruction, or it may also called as habitat loss. Here one small definition, you may call it as habitat destruction, also termed as habitat loss and habitat reduction, is the process by which a natural habitat becomes incapable of supporting its native species. See, the animal or any particular living thing belongs to, suppose if any particular living organism like a fish belongs to marine aquarium. If suppose that aquarium becomes incapable of supporting their lives, so there will be a loss of these fishes, right? Suppose there is a small pond near your house, or somewhere you have seen a small pond where some fishes are living. If you throw lots of garbage in that pond, does that fish will survive in that pond? Of course not. So you are destroying their habitat. So, what are the factors? Factors contributing to loss of habitat are overpopulation, deforestation, pollution, and of course global warming and climate change. And today, a major loss to biodiversity in the world has been done by man. Man has begun to overuse or misuse most of these natural ecosystems. Due to mindless and unsustainable resource use, once productive forests and grasslands have been turned into deserts, and wastelands have increased all over the world. Just now I said wastelands. We are, instead of developing more and more forests, we are developing more and more deserts and wastelands, dumping ground. Rapid industrialization, urbanization, and growth in population have resulted in massive deforestation and consequential habitat loss around the world. So this is all about habitat loss. Means we are destroying someone's house, right? Someone's natural house we are disturbing. Then the next point is exotic species. What do you mean by exotic species? First, here definition is given. Exotic species, which are also known as alien species, aliens, okay, invasive species, non-indigenous species, and bio-invaders, are species of plants or animals that are growing in a non-native environment. This is very important. Non-native environment. Suppose penguin. Does India is having penguin? Penguin lives near sea area, right? Am I right? Penguin lives in sea area. Suppose if I try to brought that penguins to the Kolhapur, does they live? If they survive, they are called as exotic species. Alien species have been moved by humans to areas outside of their native ranges. Just now I said, if I try to bring penguins from the seashore area to the Kolhapur district, is it possible? If they survive, they call it exotic species. Once transported, they become removed from the predators, parasites, and diseases that kept them in balance in their native environment. As a result of the loss of these controls, they often become pests in the areas into which they are introduced. See, the one which is important in that region, in his native native environment, he may become pest in non-native environment. As opposed to native species which are indigenous and found naturally in an environment, animals and plant species introduced from other countries and which are not otherwise found locally are termed exotic. These introduced or exotic species can adversely affect the ecosystem. Let's take an example. In India, large variety of exotic animal and plant species have been introduced from other parts of the world through the ages. Some exotic plants have turned into weeds, multiplying fast and causing harm to the ecosystem. Example, water hyacinth and lantana. So these are the few examples. Suppose we bring them from any other country or from any other different region for helpful reason, but sometimes this happen, they may turn into harmful purpose, right? So please don't try this. So they are called as exotic species. Then the next one is poaching of wildlife. First, let's understand what is the meaning of word poaching. Poaching has been defined as the illegal hunting or capturing of wild animals. See, Salman Khan, right, who always famous for the illegal hunting, right? Still case is going on, might be on this. So illegal hunting is called as poaching, or capturing of wild animals, circus. They capture wild animals illegally, usually associated with land use rights. So that is the meaning of poaching, means hunting, illegally hunting. Poaching of wildlife for trade and commercial activities has been on the rise for the last many decades. It has been a significant cause of the extinction of hundreds of species and the endangerment of many more, such as whales and many African large mammals, Asian tigers, etc. See, why these wild animals get hunted? Because of trade. One more best example is teeth of elephant is very popular for antique decorative material for, right? Am I right? So most extinction over the past several hundred years is mainly due to overharvesting for food, fashion, and for profit. Illicit trade in wildlife in current times is driving many species of wild animals and plants to extinction. Elephants are poached for ivory, tigers and leopards for their skin, pangolins for meat and scales, and rare timber is targeted for hardwood furniture. See, why we are targeting these animals? Because we get something very special from these animals, and by selling this we get lots of money. You know about this ivory teeth, right, of elephants. Then tiger is very famous for his skin. The skin is used for showing decoration purpose. Then meat of some animals is very famous, like in Marathi it is called as घोरपड. घोरपडीचं मीठ, घोरपडीचं मटन खूप टेस्टी लागते. Am I right? So the next point is, despite numerous laws and legislation placed on peoples, wildlife has always been under threat of poachers. See, Indians are very good in breaking laws and regulations. There are n number of laws for these animals, for protection of these animals, but still we are very good in breaking the rules, right? They kill animals for their bones, teeth, skin, hair, and other body parts. Markets are flourishing on these animal parts. Lion, elephants, deer, cranes, peacocks are mostly targeted. White Bengal tigers, Asiatic lions of Gir forest, olive red-leaf turtles of Orissa coast are the most endangered species in India. Then the next point is genetic pollution. So what is this genetic pollution? Genetic pollution is defined as uncontrolled hybridization, integration, and genetic swamping which leads to homogenization or replacement of native species as a result of either a numerical and or fitness advantage of introduced plant or animal. In simple words, I will tell you, genetic pollution means, have you seen a Marathi movie Hapus? In Hapus, what he did? See, you know about crops. People tried to do some experiments. Take seeds from this plant, take seeds from this plant, mix them something, do something, and generate a new variety of any plants or tree like this. So that is only called as genetic pollution. The best example is of roses. Have you seen black rose? Does it black rose is available naturally? Means the color which is not available naturally, humans are trying to bring them by doing this genetic hybridization. It may occur purposefully by humans or through habitat modification. In India, during Green Revolution, high-yielding varieties HYV were developed through hybridization. See, nowadays we all are eating hybrid vegetables like tomato. If you take tomato, if it is grown naturally, it comes in a small in size and very healthy type. But now hybrid tomatoes are like big tomatoes and in oval shape. Instead of round shape, they come in oval shape. So they are hybrid tomatoes, which I really don't like. Then genetic modified crops. GMO is an organism whose genetic material has been altered using recombinant DNA technology have become a common source for genetic pollution. The last line will definitely ask you for MCQ. Dash technology is a common source of genetic pollution. So your answer should be recombinant DNA technology. So let's see one extra. Genetically modified organisms are those that have been altered by scientists to include genes from other organisms known as transgenes that may impart specific benefits. Just now I told you example of roses or example of Hapus Amba film. For instance, crop seeds that have added genes which resist the effects of herbicides can allow farmers to spray their fields liberally with herbicides to kill undesired weeds without the fear of killing their marketable crop along with them. Genetic pollution is the release into the natural environment of these altered genes, creating the risk that they might breed with wild plants or animals and spread out uncontrollably. Now, climate change is also one of the most important reasons behind threatening of biodiversity. The phenomenon of global warming is also considered to be a major threat to global biodiversity. For example, coral reefs, which are biodiversity hotspots, will be lost in 20 to 40 years if global warming continues at the current trend. Climate change is the reason behind the most frequently observed melting of polar ice caps, floods, and drought in various regions across the globe. These natural calamities also cause big loss to biodiversity. See, let's take an example of melting of ice in polar region. If ice will melt, so definitely large number of animals might be killed in that region. If flood will come, definitely not only animals but humans also will get what it is punished in that flood. We face this problem, flood problem. So like this climate change also is a problematic to the biodiversity. So today like this we have completed the point of threats to the biodiversity. Which are the threats to biodiversity? Habitat loss, poaching of wildlife, genetic pollution, and anyone remember? Habitat loss, poaching of wildlife, genetic pollution, exotic species, and the last one is a climate change. So guys, this is one point. I think only 2 points are left. So this week we will finish with unit 3. So guys, thank you, tata, bye bye. And corona is spreading in a vast way, so please guys take care, be safe and keep others safe. Don't forget to keep others safe. Bye bye.